So now the third ideology is the gender ideology. And the gender ideology is basically saying that the sex of your sex partner doesn't matter because the sex of the body doesn't really matter very much. And the early forms of feminism had said men and women are basically interchangeable. Men and women are identical. If you see any differences between men and women, it's evidence prima facie of some kind of discrimination or injustice. So we need to wipe out all the differences between men and women. Well, if people have already bought that, which most people in higher education and law school and so on have already bought the idea that there are no important differences between men and women, then the idea that there could be a problem with your choice of gender of your sex partner, you know, that doesn't even compute, doesn't even register, right? So, so the gender ideology is the thing that's most in people's faces today because that's morphed. That idea has moved, right? It hasn't stayed with what the early feminists were talking about. And in fact, the current versions of the gender ideology, which is transgenderism, saying the sex of the body that you were born with doesn't matter. You can reconstruct it if you want to. And in fact, that could be good for you to try to do that. That is in many ways in direct opposition to the old form of feminism, right?
Mhm.
And there are a lot of radical feminists who are really mad about transgenderism. So it's kind of exposing an incoherence at the heart of the gender ideology. And I think that it's necessary really to go to the root of the thing and basically say it was mistaken from the beginning that the idea that the sex of the body is insubstantial and doesn't matter for anything important, that's a big mistake. And so the that's how we analyze the gender ideology and how we look at it.
Yeah. Well, exactly, because men and women, they're equal in dignity, but they're different in, like, so many other ways. Like,
Right.
you keep the dignity the same, but then it's like, okay, men are gonna be stronger, women are going to be more emotional, but not, like, in a bad way, just, like, better at relating to people. Like, it's just built into their roles as father and mother and how they're both gonna be
Right.
complementary in that way.
And you don't have to get hysterical about sex roles and being rigid about sex roles. There's plenty of room for people to be a woman in different ways and to be a man in different ways and so on and so forth. But you're still a woman. You're still a man. Even if you like to climb trees and you're a little girl, you're fine. If you're a boy and you're bookish, you're fine. You're not. You're really a boy. And it's astonishing, really, how how gender stereotypes have reemerged in this most toxic way. Really a much more toxic way than they ever existed in the 1950s. Believe me, um, because nobody in the 1950s would butcher themselves in the way that people are thinking they need to do now. And that's what's really tragic about the current round of the gender ideology.